Hi Eric, how are you doing?
Doing okay. How you doing?
Doing well here. So really appreciate your time. Really good to having you here in Mutante in Pierce Plus Radio here in Pinche Radio. So this is really good to having you here because I really want to ask you some questions, and probably you can spread a lot of knowledge and experiences that you have in all these probably activities that you do. So for me, it's really important to know and to spread this with different perspectives. As we know, Eric Chance is a good artist that comes from New York in America. So uh, actually, he's expanding right now into composing and film and television commercials, actually. So, how was your vision of art and the role of the artist in society involved?
Yeah, so I think over the years it's changed quite a bit. Uh, way back when you could make a living not easily being an artist by various things, making music, playing live gigs, this sort of stuff. But now with the way things are, especially with making music. There's very much like an ease. It's very easy to release music,
Okay.
which is a good and bad thing because a lot of things are released. Anybody can release music. There's a lot of, you know, AI stuff that's happening as far as music goes. And it's just, in my opinion, it's gotten a lot harder over even the past 10 years to make any sort of living, if you're just making music. There's a lot of avenues that you can make money, but I think, um, you know, even whether you're in a band, whether you're DJing, whether you're producing, whether you're doing all this stuff, all the above, I think that it's very much difficult to do. For myself, I've always worked. I've had the full time job on the side, so this essentially pays like my bills and rent and food and all this stuff. And music for me has always been very much a serious hobby, I would say. And I would also say that for me, I've always really been into film and TV and doing kind of breaking into doing, little scores and themes and stuff for short films. At this point, I haven't done any features, but it's also a good way to branch out and possibly get work, paid work from that. Also to expand how you create music and how you can kind of like watch film and TV in a different light, where you're saying, oh, okay, I understand why this music was chosen, or I don't know, understand why this music was chosen, or this sort of thing. So for me, I think it's really fun because I get to create the atmosphere for whatever film or, piece of media is being created. So it's a bit of a different approach versus just creating your own music for your own self. You're kind of creating music for somebody who has also a vision, but you're also kind of trying to see their vision and also incorporate your own. So
Yeah, exactly. I think, as you said, as always of us in the industry, we have both activities that we have. So we have one on the day, and over the day we finish our, how can I say, our normal job. Our,
yeah.
I think are you a designer, isn't it?
So I actually, I do design stuff, and I have in the past, and I also do some design stuff for like the record labels I manage and other little things. But my job during the day is actually in tech. So I web developer,
Okay.
and so on the technical side of things, and I've been doing that quite a long time. And yeah, there was a little bit of a gap in between 2019 or so in 2023 because of, you know, COVID and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, all to say that I've been doing this a long time, even when I was working at a job where I wasn't doing that as my job title. I've still been doing it a long time. So.
Yeah, and actually it's a really activity or a job that probably you put on practice all your creativity, because the UX and UI, I think it's the correct name.
Yeah.
I think it's this web development and these aesthetics that you have to put on practice. I think it's really motivating at the end. I think so, because as you, as a creative person, and probably as a multifaceted a person that probably do not only one thing, even can do several things, that it's amazing. So actually you having explored such different creative territories, talking about your music specifically, I think your genres, please let me know if I am right or not, but I think it's really dreamy ambient atmospheres, as you said. You are in the sound between techno and deep house. That is something that we love, actually, or personally speaking, I love, because you have both sides within a mixture of one thing, you know. And even the dark wave and IBM even, or EBM, sorry, brand work, music, as we said, for film. So what does each of these spaces give you, and how do they speak to each other in your artistic identity?
Yep. So the stuff I do under my own name, under Eric Shands, that is primarily house and ambient stuff. And house, which is called a kind of a general term, but house and some techno. But I've always, no matter what the music is, I like things that are what we call hooks, right? Stuff you can kind of like grab onto and say, okay, you know what, this is like a memorable melody, or this is a memorable vocal, or whatever the case may be. And that, I think, is always something I've been attracted to. And whether the music's dark, whether it's bright, whether it's ambient, you know, with no beats at all, I always gravitated towards stuff that, for me, was memorable. I could think about it after and say, oh, you know what, I remember that was a good track because it had this in it. And it could be something small. It doesn't have to be, you know, this big thing. But I think that, for me, and what I would say is that it's the central sort of theme throughout all the projects. Okay. So even, like I said, if the music's, you know, hard and dark and heavy, and I always like to have something to remember it by. So
sounds really good. So actually you have the different projects. You said you have Eric Shands. So do you have Fermion, isn't it?
Yeah, so I have Fermion. I also have this other project called Phenotrack, which I started a very long time ago. And there's a few albums under that. So Fermion came about around 2019 or so, with a guy named Augustine, who doesn't live in New York. He lives in Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay, but I met him up here. Yeah, I met him up here. And then through the course of the past 6 years, we've done 4 albums and an EP. And, you know, I think obviously through 2020, those crazy years, 2021, we did a lot of writing, and that project came about because him and I have just similar tastes as far as music goes, and what we listen to and what we like.
Okay.
And we just started together and seeing what would happen, and then it kind of evolved into this project that we are both really happy with. And the last album came out in July, and this actually was produced and mixed by a very old friend of mine named Justin Singer, who has a studio outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And we wanted to bring that to him because, not to get off course, but just to let you know how it's evolved over the years, we gave it to him to kind of mix and produce, and what we thought bring out the best elements of the music. And what Augustine and I were doing. So it was a really interesting experience, and we also have another EP that he's doing that should come out hopefully the first quarter of 2026. So,
Sounds good.
but yeah, for me, just real quick, it's fun to have different types of things to do because it keeps it interesting for me. Because I like so many different types of music, and especially electronic music,
Yep.
that I think creating one specific style all the time would get a bit boring for me. So
That's really good. Actually, you can, because there are several artists. Probably in my case, actually, I'm going to input myself because
Yep.
probably some artists do not have actually the entire or the total vision of different genres, and actually you have it. So for me, this talent it's unique. Probably we are really interesting and looking forward to your soon music with Fermion. So actually you had a presentation even with this as a live session, isn't it?
A live show, you say?
A live show, yes. You had a live
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, so that was the first live show I've ever done for Fermion. That was back in August, and Augustine couldn't be here because he's down south. But I had a guy fill in on guitars named Mike Getz, and he has a project called Buzz with his partner. And it's funny how we met, and that's another story. But I've actually mixed and engineered some of their stuff as well. So it's kind of like this, nice thing. And he learned the guitar parts and even stuff in the music that didn't have guitars. He really added a lot to it, and it was really fun. I was really nervous because it'd been so long since I performed. But now that I have, I'm looking forward to doing more shows probably in the new year. And
Sounds
yeah,
good.
it was fun. It was at this place called Cobra Club in Brooklyn, almost like a rock club.
Okay.
And yeah, it was really fun to do.
Sounds good. So we are probably in the future we can get some interview with your peer. Probably get a conversation through this specific concept that you have. So if you may me, probably in the not too distant future we are going to have this conversation. So
That sounds good. Yep.
on the other side, what place do the spiritual or this transcendent play in your creative process? Because you told me about you are in different activities. Even you have your mind in different personal situations, or even you are as a probably you have different ideas about the day. So for me, it's really important to know, or for us in general, to spread as an artist. Please explain us what is your what is this process, spiritual process, or this transcendent play in your creative process?
Yeah, so I think getting inspired is it could be anything really. It's sometimes you hear a great song that somebody else did and you say, wow, like I really like to create something that not like this, but it inspires you to create your own, right? And I think too it's also for me cathartic to make music as well. And that could just be sitting down and, hey, let's play around and make some sounds and see what happens, kind of thing. So, it really depends on where my mind is at that point. Sometimes it's, like I said, you're inspired by a situation, or you're inspired by a piece of art, whether that's, film or painting or whatever the case. And you just kind of just sit down and see what happens. And I think that's part of it. It's sometimes it's hard to just sit there in front of your equipment and make something, and I think sometimes it's not like you force yourself to do it, but sometimes, it's hard. You're working, at least for me, I'm working full time. I have a life, or try to. And, sometimes you're not always inspired, but I think sometimes if you just sort of sit down and try some things, then who knows? You might make something great, or you might not, and that's fine too. It's more just a form of therapy, I think.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting that you say that, because sometimes I don't know if you can apply this, but probably in my case is something that you effort yourself are actually this volition to do something, even because you have time in that moment, or even the situation gives you that process to make something. So I don't know, it's something like half you have to and half probably the inspiration, isn't it? Or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, for sure. And you can't force it. Sometimes you're not feeling it, and that's okay. You kind of wait for those moments where you're say, you know what, I want to make something, or I feel creative today. I want to go for it. But it's okay if you don't. Like it's again, it's one of those things where you can't just. This is not a job, in that unless you're getting paid to do, production, or you're doing scores or what have you, and you have deadlines to meet, or then you have to. But if it's your own projects and your own creations that where it's loose, you do it when you feel it. So.
Okay, actually, as you said, you are a producer, a DJ, a good curator through your labels, even Tribute Records and Tribute Elements. How do you balance your own creative process with the search and support of new talent? What qualities do you look for in an artist before bringing them into your ecosystem?
So, yeah. So I run the labels with Greg, and we've met just on remotely, but he's pretty busy with stuff, and I have kind of taken over a little bit over the past couple of years, and it's not so active. Because it is hard to have the time, and but to answer your question, I look for tracks that do have some originality, and also what I think may interest people as far as this type of music, house and techno for Three Bridge, and ambient stuff for Three Bridge Elements. So I think that's to me a requirement. It has to be somewhat interesting to me and done pretty well, because as it's hard work. It's hard work producing. It's hard work making things sound the way you want them to, in a way that you're happy. So I look for people or things that I think really, okay, this is pretty good. This is in my opinion, this has a certain sound to it that I like. So
that's really good, because actually as a member or as a part of Tribute Records, actually I really feel this vibe. I don't know how can I say, or this energy that probably the label has itself. All the artists that probably I got the opportunity to listen to the music, I think has a unique symbol or sonic image. I don't know, but certainly the harmony, the melody, this rhythm, it's really important, and I think it's an honor to be part even of Tribute Records, and it's really good to have this opinion, even with the vision from Greg. Actually, we we send greetings to Greg, so
sure.
If he's listening this, please
yes.
let him know our greetings. So on the other hand, looking forward the future, what the new artistic territories are you exploring, or like genres, formats, collaborations, probably disciplines, and what kind of legacy would you like to build?
I think for future creations, I think I like to always just push the envelope a bit and see what I can come up with that is my sound, but also a bit different, right? it's always fun to try new things and see what else you can come up with. You know, I've been doing this a long time, and I've written a lot of stuff, and I say that because it's hard to not sort of get to the point where you're like, all right, like I've already done that before, or I've done that, you know. So it's a challenge sometimes because you're constantly trying to get better and improve. And, you know, I hear tons of music, and I'm like, wow, that's really, really good. I wish, how did they think of that? Or, you know, the production on this is amazing. Like I want to know how they did it, you know, because I think you're always striving to be in your own mind better. And I think for the future, you know, still making music that I like, obviously, but also, you know, always trying to get better at the production and then sonically making things sound great. And, you know, for Fermion, like the last album was very kind of dance floor oriented. For the next stuff it's going to be, but it's also probably a little bit slower as well. So it gives us more space to explore different rhythms and sounds and things like this. And so, yeah, I think just trying to push it a little bit, you know, is probably the key for future sounds.
Do you prefer the DJ setup or the live performance setup? Because you do both, so I think both. I think your answer is going to be both of them. I like it, but probably you have some strengths that you probably share to us between both of them.
So, you know, DJing is a lot of fun, especially when there's people, you know, there at the club or on the dance floor, etc. You know, it's not so fun when you're playing to an empty room for a couple of hours, but it is different because, you know, it's a very DJing. You have your music, you have your USBs or whatever you're using, and you're trying to figure out the room and the people and what they might like and that kind of thing. So there's a little bit more figuring out as far as like how to curate music for a night. You know, if you're playing like a small room, you know not to like play certain stuff because you're like, all right, it's not going to really work, or, you know, you want to keep a certain vibe, you know. But for performing, you know, Fermion or any other live thing, you are performing exactly what you know how to perform and what you're slated to perform. You know, you have your songs, you know what you're gonna, you know, the hardest part about performing is really remembering lyrics and making sure you don't screw up and that kind of thing. But it's live. Mistakes are okay sometimes, right? Like, you know, you can, and a lot of times you make mistakes and people don't even realize it because they don't know, you know. And same thing with DJing. I mean, you know, you have to make sure you're beat matching okay, and, you know, things are not completely sometimes like way off key when you're mixing. But yeah, it's just very different challenges, but they're like you said, you kind of knew what I was going to say, but yeah, they're both fun in their own way, but also challenging, you know. So
that's a good one, even to a good strength for any artist, because if you have different different performances, I think you have a multidisciplinary way to perform your project or your art. I think that is really good one. So I really love both of your projects. So I think it's really important to probably I don't know, to do not to keep up with the piece with that, even because that make us feel as different, even with this touch with the people. You as a citizen in New York, actually, even you go straight to probably to the clubs or these different places that probably are up there. So what do you think is the core genre that probably to this 2026 it's going to be a boom down there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't go out to nights as much these days, but I would say that I spent many nights going out. And you know, I also go. I like, you know, kind of 80s music and things like this. So sometimes I'll go to those places, and you know, my girlfriend loves 80s music a lot, like a real lot. So we, you know, we'll go to those. Sometimes we'll go to those nights, and then for, you know, house and techno nights, I think, you know, we used to do parties at this place called TBA quite a bit, TBA Brooklyn. Okay. And it was a smaller club, more of like a bar with a dance floor over in South Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And I really did love that place because it was, you know, sadly it closed this year, but it was around for about 12 years, I believe. So I prefer places like that are a bit more intimate, a bit more, you know, like you can chat with somebody pretty easily, and you know, you're there because you like the music, versus places where it's very big and there's a big warehouse and people are, you know, there's lots of people there. Was never really my thing, even when I was young, and I always just preferred these smaller places, and there are a good amount here. There's a lot going on in New York. It's comparable to a city like Berlin, where there's just lots and lots of options to do these nights. You know, there's always parties. There's always something going on, and there's a lot of DJs. A lot. There's a lot more DJs than there are producers, because, you know, at the end of the day, for me, and how I see it, is that producing is the really hard work. DJing it can be difficult in its own way, but I feel like producing that's where, you know, you have to really, really work.
More challenging, given.
It's very challenging, and so all to say, you know, that there are always a lot of options here. So if you're a tourist and you come here and you want to go out every night, you can. You know, you can find trouble to get into. Always.
You can find a nightclub or probably a speakeasy or something like that. So
yeah, I mean, it's such a big city too that there's a lot going on in Brooklyn. Manhattan used to have a lot more, but they don't as much these days. There's still a lot, but you know, there's more of the underground places in Brooklyn. Lots of different types of places, you know, big places, small places, and tons of DJs and musical acts and concerts, and you can go, you know, there's so much here. So
it's amazing. Yeah, I think this industry, it's nuts about all the performances and all the music that you can find, and probably one DJ mixing in Brooklyn, and some hours ago probably went to other city, and this mix of localization, we can say, it's nuts for me. Finally, if you had to chosen one only or only one piece, one of your moment or project to represent who you are as an artist, which one would be and why?
It's a good question. It's a really tough answer, only because, you know, each project and each piece for me is like obviously, you know, not to have a pun here, but it's like each piece is a piece of you, right? Each thing that you create is maybe an experience or a story that you want to tell. And I think that, you know, there are certain projects of mine or songs of mine that I like a lot, like maybe, that's one of my favorite things I've done or whatever. I think the last Fermion album had some really songs on it that kind of encapsulate everything that I like, right? Like even like the title track, Conflicted, it's kind of this high energy dance track with like pop elements, but it's got a little bit of industrial in it. And it's, you know, people have told me that it's quite catchy, and the whole album has that catchy element. And so I guess it's definitely, the last Fermion album is definitely, you know, kind of is really takes a little piece of everything I like and puts it into one package. So I think that, you know, definitely was a big thing for us and me, especially because we're on this label Remission Entertainment, and they have a lot of, you know, good acts on there. A lot of acts have been around for a long time, and they also have new acts as well, and they're based in Oklahoma City. And the guy that runs the label, Wes, is a really nice guy. So I'm really happy that, you know, we're getting to work with him.
Sounds really, really good, that one. So yeah, I think even in all your repertory, I think your sound, it's really 80s, 90s, all these, even instruments that probably the manufacturer was through these days or through these years probably. And I think this season, it's really just spread this season. Even when we hear all this stuff, even in your vocals, the process in your vocals, I think it's this image that probably you can spread through the music or through the frequencies. So that really works for this Fermion project, and probably it is going to be a success, this new album, and we are getting this. Please share to us this music when you launch this new project or this new EP, I think. So let us know.
Absolutely, yeah.
And last but not least, to say thank you to having you here to spread a little bit of your experiences, your knowledge. For us, it's really important to get this, how can I say, curatorship of persons that probably can be conscious about their processes as you, probably as a real process, I say. And probably for all of them that we have in the social media or in the outer in general, probably you are going to take or to select something. We are going to select something that you said as a good advice, a piece of advice. So thank you once again, Eric. Please share to us. Share to us your social media in order to follow you. Please, all your platforms.
Thanks so much, Irving. It was really, really good to talk.
So we are going to spread more music about Eric Chance and Fermion. So thank you for everything. See you soon, man.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.